Hey everyone, welcome to Community Corner, episode 16. I'm Stephanie Locricchio, Advocacy Liaison with Children's Health Defense.
And I'm Aimee Villella McBride, Advocacy Liaison with Children's Health Defense.
We are so excited to be coming here with you today to recap first the amazing weekend that was freedom fighters taking to the streets in New York City, in New Jersey. We had such an amazing turnout, and I was invigorated. I really felt like this vibration and this energy from all the people out in the streets, just linking arms and standing together in solidarity against mandates, and going from my original hometown of New York and then being able to go to my now hometown of New Jersey and seeing so many of the people, familiar faces that I've been fighting with for years. But more importantly, seeing so many new people showing up. It was amazing. So I'm immediately going to roll to some of the footage. Of course, we covered all of this on CHD TV. So everyone get used to typing in CHD.TV for amazing coverage of all the rallies happening around the world, and for some amazing footage that we now have, shows, different things that we're featuring. Anything that you need to know about freedom, we have it for you. So plug that into your favorite CHD.TV. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring you some of the footage. Bobby Kennedy, Mary Holland, there were so many amazing people there. So we're going to show just a couple of minutes.
Show up, stand in solidarity against. Hey everyone, Stephanie Locricchio coming to you live from the amazing Times Square, where we're expecting thousands of people to show up, to stand in solidarity against mandates. I am proud to be representing Children's Health Defense and the Community Corner show, and capturing all of this amazing footage of these people showing up, rising up, and standing together against mandates and bodily autonomy.
When the Los Angeles police will not enforce the vaccine mandate, we are winning. When New York State postponed its hearing this past week on the religious exemption for healthcare workers, we are winning. When governors around the country are stating that they will fight the president's forthcoming regulation to impose mandates on corporations with more than 100 employees, we are winning. It can feel dark at times and we can feel alone, but we are gaining. So let's keep in the forefront of our minds where we are going. We are going to a world with no medical mandates. We're going to a world with no segregation, no vaccine passing. We're going to a world with restored free travel.
That's right.
We are winning.
We are winning. We are winning. We are winning. We are winning.
And what that means is the vaccine is not safe and effective. And it is 48% more likely to kill you than somebody who didn't take the vaccine. And how can you compel Americans to take that? Particularly the people who are dying of myocarditis are people who are healthy, they're athletes, and they're little children. We have no business giving this to little children. It is unethical. It is medical malpractice. At 1 minute in March, Tony Fauci is saying masks don't work. In June, he says strap them on. In July, strap another one on. Oh, with no, it's just a diktat of a technocrat. Everybody in this crowd has a feeling of discomfort about what has happened to them, about what happened to our country. And how did all these countries around the globe suddenly, in one lockstep move, pivot and end democracy, have this coup d'etat against democracy, and impose authoritarian controls all at once, all over the globe? How did that happen? How many of you know what Event 201 is?
Oh, amazing.
Must have been electrifying. It would be very hard for me to say I had a favorite speaker because everyone was so phenomenal, from Mary's speech to Bobby's speech to Dr. Christiane Northrup to Dr. Larry to Kevin Jenkins. I mean, everyone was just phenomenal that day. You could feel the energy even not being there coming through the screen, and the crowd. I mean, it was a great crowd, right? What would you say the size was?
Amazing. I mean, we estimate anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000. I can tell you that being there, I literally could not lift my elbows to like put my hair back. I was sharing a chair with a woman that I've never met before. We like both squeezing on the chair because, you know, you're standing behind the thing taking, you know, the video, and people behind you were trying to take videos. So there was just wall to wall people everywhere. But the most amazing part about this was it was peaceful. It was beautiful. There was connection. There was camaraderie. It was a representation of everything that New York stands for as far as the melting pot and diversity of all the people, all the political parties, all the religious affiliations. So it really was a beautiful tribute to freedom in New York. And I was so honored to be able to be there. I left there like lit up and exhausted all at the same time, because you know, when you're sitting out in the heat, it's like, right. Okay, sweating a lot, but it was so fantastic. And it really reinforces the fact that we are not alone and that our movement has grown exponentially. When I see new faces, I'm so pleased. But when I see old faces, I'm pleased. But when I see new faces, I'm like, yes, this is fantastic. Right. I'm so excited. So I think we should get some crowd shots too, because you pulled some really great footage of the chanting and the crowd. So let's pull that up also.
So this is from our good friend Leroy Johnson over at Leroy Press. He's always capturing the moment on the streets. And this is him with an aerial shot. You're seeing the crowd. And as you said, it was estimated to be anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 people. So I know it expanded, you know, further down the whole avenue there, right in Times Square. I mean, what a great location, right? So kind of the mecca of advertising right there by the theater district, you know, huge exposure for so many people to see, because we know our issue. We're always shadow banned by the media, but we can't be ignored anymore. And as Mary said, we are winning and we are growing.
It's not playing, of course, because you know, why would it cooperate? Even though I tested it 17 times, you got to love lives, right, Aim?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see if we can get the next one. Maybe the next one will cooperate with us.
So yeah, after.
So we're 1 for 2. We have sounds, but no picture.
So this is everyone out front of the New York Times building. So the Gray Lady. So after the rally, they marched. It was a march against the media, really demanding truth and transparency, because we know we're being lied to. We know the media is censoring everything. Everything is shadow banned. The information is not getting out there on mainstream media. So the whole crowd took to the streets and marched through Manhattan and marched over to the New York Times building. So unfortunately, you couldn't see it, but there's a crowd of thousands of people standing right out front, the main plaza, New York Times, screaming defund the media, which I just loved seeing that. That was powerful.
It is powerful. And you know what? The fact that people are on to the censorship and that they're seeing it, because remember, you and I were conspiracy theorists a year ago, and it's now out there.
I think I've been called that for a decade now.
I mean, used to it. But I think it was the most contentious it's ever been during the pandemic, like being out there and protesting in April and May of last year. People thought I lost my mind.
Right.
But now looking back, we were the sane ones, because the unfortunate part of all this, and I think what people are starting to realize, is the compliance and the willingness to tolerate this unconstitutional, tyrannical nonsense for as long as we did actually really contributed to where we are today, because it was like that slow removal of the freedom. So you didn't feel it so much. But now the pressure's on, and we're seeing that the censorship is real. So let's see if we can do the last clip. Maybe the third one will be a charm. Fingers crossed. Let's see. There we go. No, not so much. All right. Well.
So, here we go. So this is, again, everyone right after the rally, taking to the streets, marching down and yelling, "Wake up, New York." And it's just a beautiful thing to see, because for so many years as an activist in We did events in the city. We're fighting bad bills. We'd get a couple hundred people to show up, smaller crowds here and there, but to see 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, and every week, this really is a testament to the community organizers, which we're thrilled to bring one on in just a few moments, who have really cultivated a community there and have grown together, created friendships, created bonds, and really a strong movement of waking up more and more New Yorkers who many of these people were never really a part of the medical freedom movement. But because of the tyrannical overreach during COVID, it has now slapped them in the face. They have no choice but to say, I know deep down this is not right and something is wrong, and I'm not willing to just roll over and comply. So these are people who won't walk into the restaurants and show fake paperwork. They're not, complying. They're not getting the vaccine, and they're willing to stand up and fight for not only themselves, but the people who don't even know that they're fighting for them, and really to preserve the freedoms to come. So kudos to this group who have been really, doing a great job and building beautiful momentum.
What was remarkable to me? I was driving, trying to find parking because, the city, and I'm in the theater districts, and I'm looking at all of these hundreds of people lining up outside of the theater. And that they've all had to be vaccinated because, that's the rule in New York now. And every single one of them had a mask on.
I know.
And I'm thinking to myself, I actually started talking to myself in the car, and then I had to do my Ujjayi breathing and come back, because how crazy is this that you lined up, you took this experimental jab, and you're still restricting your oxygen and following these ridiculous protocols. So for the people that showed up, for the people that refused to go into those establishments, God bless you. Keep it up. We need to support people who support freedom, and they need to feel it if they're not. So to that end, we have an amazing guest on today who has literally reinvented herself based on some of the things that have happened to her as a result of these mandates. We have Heather Berman coming to you. She is a former Rockette and a performing artist with over 50 years experience in the industry, turned community organizer as a result of the tyrannical mandates. And she was one of the lead organizers for the amazing Broadway Freedom Rally that we attended this week that we streamed for you. So I am so excited to bring on Heather Berman. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What an amazing, amazing day. I mean, you must be exhausted, first of all.
Yeah, I'm already planning Sunday's rally.
That's amazing. Make sure you send us the information so we can share it.
Yeah, Jimmy Levy, who's really, really going at it out there, standing up, being an artist to stand up. He's coming back to New York again. So Sunday with Jimmy Levy again.
He's going to perform This Is War again, is now #1 song, right?
Wow, #1 on a lot of charts, and it went there really quickly. So that just tells you the rest of the world is standing with us. And yeah, it's really exciting.
It's so interesting because music throughout history, right, has played a pivotal role in so many different movements and so many different issues of our time. And here it is happening again. And I think you're right. The fact that it's #1 in the Billboard charts and many other charts just shows where everyone is feeling right now. And that song, I love it. The message, the intent. I mean, he's just amazing. So that's so exciting. He's coming back. That's great.
And he was, the song Matrix also was up there, and it really kind of speaks of breaking the matrix, kind of taking the veil off and showing you what's really going on, and a lot of people are afraid to see that. And we kind of help people say, don't be afraid. It's more fun on this side,
Right.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. There was so much energy the other day. So congratulations first on the amazing event. I literally am still lit up from it. And it was a historical event. New York City is blessed to have you as a community.
Thanks.
So thank you so much.
Yeah,
we had conversations about, how you came to be in this movement. And I'm a big fan of always starting with the why, because the why is really what leads to the how and everything that follows. Can you first tell us a little bit about what led you to become so involved in and so passionate about the medical freedom movement?
Well, I had always been interested in holistic health my whole life, and I kind of started doing it 30 years ago, just learning from different people and kind of healing a lot of my problems, a lot of my ailments through holistic health. And so when when everything hit and shut down, I didn't really know exactly what was going on, like most people. But I soon figured it out. I would say within a month and maybe 6 weeks or something, just through research. And Dr. Christiana Northrup was always a favorite doctor and person in the holistic realm. So I started listening to her lives on Instagram, and we all became the warriors of the radical light. And so she really helped me through the whole thing. And of course, I, started following Dr. Pilevsky and Del Bigtree and all the names, and of course, Children's Health Defense I knew about. But I don't have children, so I wasn't focused on, vaccines so much. I knew my sister she had looked into it, and I never really took, flu shots or anything. So it wasn't like a main thing. I just knew that I was into holistic health, and what they were telling you to do wasn't working for me, nor did I think it was healthy. So, and then it kind of grew from there, because I started, what happened was my business, I'm in show business, and SAG-AFTRA was kind of demanding these weird mandates, full PPE, like you work in a hospital, PCR tests, which I found out, of course, through, Carrie Mullis, that wasn't going to be good for you. And it was giving false positives and just all kinds of crazy stuff I just didn't agree with. So I started thinking I need to find a new job. So I heard about Pam Popper, and I wrote to her and told her my story. I'm vaccine injured from the tetanus vaccine 4 years ago. So I was really kind of working on healing from MS. It gave me MS. I have a lot of neurological, and I've been healing. It's like 4 years, and I'm really much further along than I would if you had met me a few years ago. So basically, I just knew that this wasn't right, and I ended up on the phone with Pam Popper, and she's like, I said, what can I do? I'm trying to find a job. And she goes, I need you to recruit for Make Americans Free Again. And I was like, okay. And so I just started telling everybody I knew who was awake. I said, sign up, blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, a friend told me that we're building our chapter in New York, NY Stands Up. So I started working with all those people and kind of building a new community of people. Sadly, I had to step away from most of the people in my industry, because they were sleeping.
Yeah, a lot of people are asleep. I mean, slowly they're waking up, but it's so amazing how, people always say that the movement finds you. You don't find the movement. Like it just taps you on the shoulder and gets in your ear, and then you can't unsee and unknow all the things that
you can't. And I felt responsible. It took me quite a few months to actually reveal my vaccine injury, because I was still kind of playing the game with my agents. I was auditioning for big roles and TV shows and films. I didn't book anything, but I still was getting really good auditions. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep auditioning, and then if I book something, I'll deal with it then. Well, finally, I was doing too many things. Like I went up to Albany, I went to Long Island, I was meeting everybody. And then come January, I was on the street screaming on bullhorns with, a bunch of crazy New Yorkers. And then it started growing, and like finally, people I met, Joe and Kevin and all these crazy people, we did like a nice rally in Union Square, and it was like a couple hundred people. We were all excited, a couple hundred people. Because, it was so crazy. People were walking around like zombies in New York, Yeah. And then it just kept growing until, of course, now, we just did this big Broadway one, and I kind of stepped in, I guess, a few months ago, like kind of really trying to help organize it, because I am an actor, and I have done, producing things with live musicians. And, I literally produced a whole tour for a Colombian musician once.
Wow.
Back in 2012, 2013. And I don't speak Spanish. I had him on, Univision on, prime time. I had him in Pittsburgh. I had him in the Copa. I had him everywhere. And I just kind of used all my skills as an actor. So now, push forward to now, I'm using every skill, every hat that I've ever worn, except for instead of being on Broadway, my dream, I'm standing on the street on Broadway, doing something
41st Street.
That's Kennedy Jr.
I love it.
I mean,
that fire.
It's kind of funny. God is funny. I said, God, I really wanted to be on Broadway or on the red carpet. I didn't have this in mind. This wasn't what was in my, dream package, and he's like, well, Heather, I need you to go on Broadway and talk about freedom.
And you did. So I want to shift from the why to the how, because honestly, it is a production. Like what you did the other day is truly a production. You had dancers, you had singers, you had speakers. There is so many moving parts to putting off one of these events. Like people don't realize all the behind the scenes coordination. You're managing personalities, you're scheduling, you're collaborating before, during, and after an event. And then, things don't go as planned. You have to kind of be able to roll with the punches. So for anyone watching and looking to organize an event like this in their local community, what advice would you give them? Because people often think that they need to have experience to be able to do something like this. They need to have a fancy degree to step on a stage or to organize a rally. But the truth is that people can just bring their magic and their skill sets to this movement and make such a difference. So tell me what you think as far as the key qualities and attributes people would need to be able to create an event like this.
I should probably hold a class. I mean, if you want it, as smooth as possible with the less stress as possible, you should be organized and, know that you have to get permits. So if you want sound, you got to get permits usually in a city, and you got to make sure that whoever you get the permit from knows that you need an X amount of time. So that means your speakers only get a certain amount of time. And then if you're doing music, you're adding in live music, you're doing another element. Then if you're doing a live singer with a recording, you need to make sure you have good sound equipment. So for the one we just did, we had a generator. You got to make sure you have a generator and a mixer and kind of good sound equipment. And that was kind of through people donating, we've had people donate, different equipment to us, which is really nice, and their time. Like we had someone donate their time to set it up for us. That's really important. But if you just want to have a simple thing and one microphone and maybe just a simple PA, doesn't cost a lot. You can keep it simple and just have people tell stories. That's kind of how it all started down in Union Square with concerned, New Yorkers. They did a talk back. Now, the problem with the talk back is you could get some talk backers that aren't a part of your message.
Yeah.
And so when we do our rallies, New York Freedom Rally, we all kind of met each other on the street, and it's called New York Freedom Rally. But it's really just New Yorkers getting together and kind of creating this community, right? And we have a theme that everybody's welcome as long as you believe in no medical mandates, no apartheid, no passports, and you believe in you get to decide how you do your health. And that's the theme, okay? You could be any kind of a political supporter, everybody has opinions, whatever, but that's the theme is freedom, health freedom. And if you want to do holistic, or we have people that have gotten this injection who now are realizing maybe they want to detox or they want to learn about holistic health, and we try to help them. There's a lot of holistic health people that come and really knowledgeable, a lot of people within that realm, which is really great because we can say, hey, like me, I'm doing all kinds of holistic health to heal from my vaccine injury, and I've done a lot of different things and they work, and everybody's different. That's the other thing to remember, that if something works for me, it may not resonate with another person. So you kind of have to listen. I believe it's my God, God tells me, I think it's time you need this. And you listen quietly and you get the answers to what your personal self needs in life, not just your health, but everything.
Yeah.
So
I love hearing that message, Heather, because, I think the location that didn't go unnoticed, right? So you guys were at, the crossroads of the theater district, which is so relevant for you, right? Your livelihood as a performing artist, but also in the bombardment of Times Square, right? Which is iconic imagery of all major brands and all major advertising. I worked in advertising for 13 years in Manhattan, and I remember late nights working on campaigns, coming home in car service, and you drive through and the lights and the messaging, it's just bombarding you with messages, and it's constantly pounding impressions into you, getting to shift your views, getting you to think a certain way. And that's the same way the media has been throughout the pandemic.
Yeah.
But yet people are realizing that when they get quiet and they go inward and they're reflective, you know, whether it's prayerful time, whether they're meditating, whether they just get quiet with themselves, however they do it for themselves, they're realizing that this is just wrong, you know, and what has been unfolding and the way our government is reacting and the response to the pandemic and the fact that our rights are just slowly being taken away. I mean, people have to learn to turn inwards more and trust themselves. And I think they do get that messaging then. And I think that's why the movement is growing so rapidly, because more people are saying, you know what, enough with the media. I'm just going to turn it off because they're lying to us. So, I mean, it's a huge thing.
I think it's a lesson that, you know, you have to listen to yourself and you have to get quiet and build discernment. To me, discernment is through God. So I've always been a believer. It's just been a part of my life. I mean, when I was a little girl, I always asked God to just help me do the best I can during my dance recital, because you're a nervous wreck, you know. I started doing recitals at 7, and, you know, I started being really cognizant of this spirits, my angels. My mother always talked about angels, about a different realm helping you, you know, that you weren't alone, that it wasn't just this, you know, these things, this couch, or, you know, a body. It was something bigger than us spiritually. And I believe it's God. That's my faith. That I was always kind of being guided in a way, like helped. And my prayer was always, I've done the work all year. I got my costume and there's this audience out there. And I just want to do the best job that I possibly can in this moment. Being in the moment is such a part of being an artist. And I think in society, we're rarely in the moment because there's so much at us. And a lot of people are suffering from ADD. And it's not that they have a diagnosis. It's really that we don't have in our society meditation, prayer, quiet time built into our structure. We're being pulled all the time, and we're being told we have to be like doing a million things at once, and that isn't good for us, really, I don't think. And we miss the moment. Everybody's up there with their cameras, right? I watched them and I was like, you're not really in the moment if you're taking video or photos the whole time the speaker or the performance is going on. Mm-hmm. You're kind of missing the moment. And that's been, you know, a part of live, you know, concerts or anything that we do. So I'm pretty cognizant of only doing that a very little bit just so that I can, you know, put it on Instagram, but then letting it go and really absorbing the moment, right. You know, because you miss it. And what are you going to remember? The photo or the feeling? You remember how you felt at that concert, mm-hmm. or how the play made you feel, or how the dancers energized you. That's what you remember, you know.
We've been so programmed to think that the answers are outside of ourselves, and we've forgotten to be able to just trust.
Yeah.
That given natural instinctual ability to know what comes next, where we're supposed to be, where we're not supposed to be. So it's such a great reminder to have that, because so many people, social media, you just spend the whole day scrolling, you go on to look for something, and 35 minutes later, you're still scrolling.
Well, the other thing is you feel like it's really difficult to get your purpose, your soul purpose, if you're watching everybody else's soul purpose, and then you get jealous, right? Because our ego steps in, and then we go, well, Ma, I don't have that husband or that wife or that job, or I didn't get that commercial, or I didn't get book that. You know, it will kill you. It will ruin your day.
100%.
And if you go out, you take a walk, you'll get creative, because you go out, take a walk, breathe, work out, all of a sudden you'll get a download for you. Mm-hmm. Just for you, to help you in life. And it's only for you. It's very specially for you.
Right.
Because we're all unique and special. And that's why, you know, I always tell people, this isn't about me. Just because I have a big mouth and I'm used to being on stages and I got up there with a microphone, you know, like, you're all just as important.
Right.
Your day and everything you're doing can assist this just as much as I can. I have friends that can't be loud because of certain circumstances. but they're taking a stand, what we call maybe a silent stand, or they're doing something that they have to do maybe quietly with their children or a grandparent or whatever it is that they need to do. And it's just as valid.
Right.
You know, we don't all have to scream on the street. And I think that's important to note about New York. I know there's a lot more people who agree with us, but not all of them are willing to scream on the street, you know?
Right. It takes bravery and courage to really put yourself out there. So kudos for, you know, to you for doing that. I mean, did you ever see yourself, obviously, you know, you were impacted by your own personal vaccine injury 4 years ago, but did you ever think you would have this active of a role in organizing within the medical freedom movement?
No, I mean, the first time I went to Albany was last October, and it was definitely for this, you know. But no, I mean, I knew that one day I would talk a lot about holistic health because it's healed me. And I knew it was a big part of my journey and I wanted to write a book about it. But I didn't think I would be on the streets talking about it. No, never in a million years in New York. No, I didn't think that. But, you know, God has a plan for you. And somehow, sometimes, well, weird things happen that you can't explain, and you find yourself doing something. You go, I didn't plan that. How'd that happen?
Right.
And it really was kind of a lifetime of a plan that God, I believe, you know, it's meant to be. I mean, that's kind of how I feel. Like all this time, I thought I had to wait till I go to heaven to find out why I didn't get my Broadway show or my red carpet or my big film or my big TV show. And now I know.
It really does, like, it taps you on the shoulder and all of a sudden you discover this other part of yourself that's been there the whole time. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, you've had it the whole time, you just didn't know it was there, and all of a sudden you can bring that to everybody and inspire, educate, and empower people to do the same. So I want to talk a little bit. Obviously, this wasn't planned, and there was a lot of things that have been lost and impacted along the way. I mean, you had this certain lifestyle, this job that you love, this performing that has been your life, that was taken from you and from so many others. So can you just talk about some of the impacts that that's had on your life and some of your colleagues' life that you're still in touch with?
Yeah, I mean, definitely cried many tears last summer when I realized that SAG-AFTRA, who is the big, you know, union for actors on film and TV, you know, they have the way forward. And it's a very specific way that you have to follow these protocols, these mandates that I don't agree with. And you know, you cry a lot because you're saying goodbye to a life.
Yeah, it's true. It's 100% true. And the bottom line is, even though you're saying goodbye to this life and there is sadness and there is a feeling of loss and grief, I feel like in our conversations, you've also been blessed tremendously by the work that you're doing now.
Yeah.
So I always like to look at the yin and the yang of it all. Like there's the horribleness and then there's the blessings and the things that you never expected to happen. So what, if anything, has been the biggest blessing of all of this madness and chaos in the last 18 months?
Well, there's a few, but realizing that you have skills that you're not always sure why you have them. And, you know, for me right now, the biggest, most important thing is this. And God, you know, I developed these skills my whole life because I love the arts, you know, and I wanted to be a real artist, not somebody that just posed and tried to get a job. I really, really worked on everything, you know, ballet, jazz, tap, modern. I was a Rockette because I danced. I'm an actor. I trained Meisner, Shakespeare, on camera, speaking, voice and diction. I mean, I never stopped training, and it's because I love the work. You know, I really love, and I want to be good. I've always been somebody that when I open my mouth or I go to be on stage or I do what I'm going to do, I wanted the training, the real background in it, not just here I am. It has nothing to do with that. I really love the work. You know how they say, I'm sure you've heard famous people say, if you're doing it to be a star, you're in the wrong business. You have to love the work. The work is kind of blue collar. It's very lonely. You're never on a red carpet. You have dirty dance shoes, smelly dance bag. you know, broken toe, broken ankle, nobody cares. You know, you go home alone and then you wake up the next morning. When I was a Rockette, you think anybody was waiting in my, you know, I grew up doing vaudeville. There's a funny comedic song that I used to do. It's like, you know, where are the stage door Johnnies? She says. It's a character, you know, and she's singing, you know, where are the stage door Johnnies? You know, it's a fallacy that most artists are living this kind of glamorous lifestyle. I created one, you know, living in Hell's Kitchen. I've got glamorous costumes and fun things, but that's because I always felt I want to have glamour and fun around me, even though I'm not a star. You know, just because you can make fun in life and not have a lot of money or be a star, and you can wear sparkles and, you know, have a good time. That's why every time you see me on the street, even though it's a dirty old street, I'm wearing sparkles and bright clothes and having a good time. Because when you go against that darkness and you say, I'm going to find joy, I'm going to wear my sparkles, I'm going to put my lipstick on, and you know what? That makes me happy. And I don't need to be miserable just because I'm talking about freedom.
I love it. It's a choice. I say that all the time. It's a choice.
Right. Yeah.
You ladies inspire me, because when I met you, you know, everybody had their makeup on. What, you know, I mean, that's not to say I didn't do many days without makeup and a ponytail, of course, but I've always been a girly girl, and it's fun. I love doing all that girly girl stuff. You can see that's me in that painting in the back. I was in college in the blue dress.
Oh, you are.
And it was a 60s style dance routine. And, you know, an artist did this painting of a photograph. And so, you know, every element of the business I love. I used to do hairdos and makeup and costumes and, you know, so I grew up doing that as a little girl, putting on a show, you know, so it's similar. But, you know, the thing is, it's a very serious matter.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And you do deal with a lot of personalities who have no idea about putting on a show. They're not professional people who get on the stage. So you have to have patience. I'm learning patience.
Right. Oh God, yes.
God's
like handlers to kind of
to learn patience.
Well, you clearly have such a huge passion for the arts, and it's been such a huge part of your life since a really early age. I think you said you started performing when you were, what, 6 or 7 years old?
7, doing the dance recitals. And then my first professional job being paid was in a big giant head as Huckleberry Hound. I was 16. Doing a mall show, dancing and singing in a giant Huckleberry Hound costume with Ranger Rick. No glamour there, I can tell you that.
Now, I'm curious, now that you've departed from that and you've taken on this, you know, big role as a community organizer, how have your peers that used to, you know, share a stage with, how have they been treating you? I mean, are they aware of your role and how active you are, and what type of support are you getting, if any, at all?
What's funny, it's grown as I kind of ended up in different media things, which was kind of crazy when it started happening. I have a friend who's a monk, and he lives in Japan. He wrote to me, he said, Heather, I saw you on the news in Japan. I was like, really? And then Dal Bigtree put a couple clips on his show, The High Wire. People were taking clips from the Teacher's Choice first thing we did in City Hall on, I think it was August 25th. And I was wearing a pink dress, and I started crying because I was talking about how they're ruining people's livelihood who did this their whole life. And, you know, I care more about the young people because I did it, at least, you know, and they think about little kids that have a dream, or people right out of college moved to New York and they can't do it. It's sad for me, and it's sad for them. And they contact me. People started DMing me from around the country when my videos went viral, and parents, dance moms, dance dads, dance studios, dance competitions, actors from LA that are afraid to say anything, actors who are on sets here who are afraid to say anything. It's like a quiet drip of DMs. I mean, today, a big Broadway beautiful singer, leading lady contacted me. I'm telling you, it's dripping in, and I'm growing my community, and I'm helping them to be activists with me, and we're going to put on a show where everyone's invited.
I love it.
No one's excluded.
When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right?
And that's why we have Flacco dancing hip hop, because he's an actor. Rappers, Ito and Jimmy with High Res, and they're gonna, that's why, because to me the arts really touch your heart, and they are using my people for the Mockingbird media. I'm not going to have it. We're going to turn it around, and we're using our arts for love, light, and God, and that's what we're going to do.
I love it, Heather. Like, and that's what I like it. That's
shimmy.
That I so admire is you just are able to reinvent yourself, roll with the punches, and say, you know what? This is my magic. This is what I'm here to do. This is the situation. Let me make this applicable to what I can do instead of focusing on what's not there anymore. So one of the things that Aimee and I always talk about is building back better. I mean, I know that that's the slogan in the current White House. We're not talking about that kind of building back better. We're talking about the real kind of building back better. And, people are pulling their kids out of school. This is the first year my son has not been in traditional school in his entire life. He's going to be 4. He actually is 14. But, a lot of people are doing different things. And what do you see as far as the industry that you're in, performance, and all these people that are being displaced? What are the plans for the road ahead? How do you feel like you can build back better?
We're going to do shows. Look, I came into this world wanting to put on a show, and I can already feel it. I've already talked to different artists about how we could do like a variety show, because I kind of feel like, remember in the old days when my dancing teachers were vaudevillians? They were called the Four Evans. And so I grew up around also a comic in Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh. I grew up with learning from Don Rockette and Barbara. They were a comedic team, and I learned vaudeville. I did burlesque with them. I did a show called Big Bad Burlesque. I was the lead comedian, and I grew up with vaudevillian dance teachers. So I learned the art of the show, and that's part of what people see when I'm out there. I can't take it out of me. It's how I grew up. And I grew up with, you put on lipstick, you put on your lashes, and nobody knows your troubles. My mother always taught me, you don't air your dirty laundry. And I think people misconstrue that as you don't have any troubles or that you're too showy. But in reality, it's that you want everyone to be happy and you want to bring joy to them and let them know that, look, we're crying underneath sometimes, but we can't cry all day long. We have to get creative. And when we put our mind to it and we do our sole purpose, which for me is the arts, God helps you. And many of the artists that I'm speaking with feel the same way. And they believe that we are the leaders and that we're going to change hearts and minds through music, dance, love, light, God, and all of the people. And a lot of the nurses and doctors are learning holistic health now. And they're realizing that maybe they were lied for years, and they're learning to deal with their pain around that. And a lot of the support staff that take care of New York, like MTA, and, I've had, policemen go, oh my goodness, I took it. And I said, well, you can detox. And I said, you can pray, because you know what? You can heal through that. And you're still here. And there's a reason why you're here.
That's right.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. We talk about, just building this new and beautiful world that we want our children to be a part of. And I think so many new things will come out of that. And I actually recently met Brian Cloudis, where he was Black from the entertainment industry in LA. He moved to Florida, and literally that's his mission. He now puts on performances. He did a huge performance of Oklahoma.
I did it in Europe for a year and a half. I toured back in the early 90s. Yeah.
He had James O'Keefe from Project Veritas as the lead actor. But that's really his entire premise, is we can still create performance and theater, and we'll do it our way. And we won't be subjected to these mandates and these rules and, the censorship and, the blacklisting that occurs when you're not, of the far left liberal Hollywood that they want you to speak at. So he might be a great person for you to reach out to.
I would love to meet him. And there's a beautiful redhead that one of my friends who has a little dance actually actress model daughter, she told me about the beautiful redhead who played Dream Lori in the show. She's gorgeous. And has this long red hair ballerina. And I'm following her on Instagram now. And I was like, oh my goodness, she played the Dream Lori. You know, I was in the chorus, you know, I toured Europe. And so, you know, that's an iconic, wonderful musical. Oklahoma, you know, so it's and so, you know, I saw that and I just think that's so cool how they're like, no, we'll go to, I forget where they did it. Was it Kansas or somewhere like that? They did.
I believe so.
And they put it outside. And see, when we toured Europe, we played outside theaters a lot. And it was so much fun, you know, and people love musicals no matter where they're from, even if they don't understand every word.
Right.
There's something about an old-fashioned American musical that touches people.
Yep.
And, you know, I grew up with that. So that's kind of like in my DNA, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. So out of these mandates, out of the ridiculous measures, you know, what you guys are facing, I mean, all of you guys there in the city every day, I mean, to not even be able to walk into a restaurant and eat,
That's
you know, or not be able to go to a gym or a theater, you know, it takes courage to fight back when the system is so oppressive day in and day out. So, you know, I give you guys so much credit for what you guys are doing there in the city. And I thank you for really activating that community. You guys have been doing a phenomenal job. And like Mary said in her speech on Saturday, I really do believe that we are winning. I feel like we've hit this tipping point and it's just going to grow faster and faster. There's so much momentum of people waking up. And it's really beautiful to see that. So I thank you for helping to make that community happen. And I would love, you know, for you to just give perspective to those listening who maybe they're feeling hopeless, maybe they're feeling like, you know, they're not able to make a difference. You know, what words or perspective would you leave them with so that they can take inspired action like you have and they can make a difference in their own community? You know, that's what our show is about. Stephanie and I really just try to amplify the voices of activists all over the country. So I'd love to leave them with some parting words from you on how they can have, you know, their own impact in their own community.
Yeah, I mean, I think you take what it is that you feel most inspired about your life, maybe from before. Don't think of it as a job. You know, think of it more of what makes you tick. So if you were a teacher and you loved teaching, you can get with other teachers and do a pod. Do you know how many people need a pod to do at home? And let's say you're a doctor or nurse, like I mentioned, there's a lot of them already looking at doing their own wellness center. If you're a dance studio, you do a freedom dance studio and you let everyone come. And don't be afraid that somebody's going to not like it. That was a huge lesson for me. The minute I really got not afraid to be who I really am and say exactly how I feel, I mean, I got more Instagram followers, but it's not about the Instagram followers. It's about being truly in your soul purpose and being who you are. And then you're able to help people more because you're being more authentic. And you're not hiding because you're afraid. New Yorkers hide in a mask all the time, right? They want everyone to think that they're successful. They have the right car, the right girlfriend, the right boyfriend, Broadway, finance, fashion. It's very New York to wear a mask, right? They like that mystery, you know? Well, guess what? The moment right now is about no mask, being authentic and not being afraid to be authentic. And you take baby steps. Do it with 3 people you trust. Then you learn if someone's mean or nasty, you learn how to deal with that. I went through a whole journey of how not to be afraid of the slings and arrows and the evil and the darkness and the, what is she talking about there? You know, and that keeps happening because people hate you, they'll love you. And I thought, wow, I'm really learning what it's like for the stars. It's something I always wanted, but goodness gracious, I probably wasn't ready for it. And God went, no, you're too sensitive. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. But guess what?
You check your ego really quick when you step into this leadership role, because you realize when ego is present and when you're operating from that place of wanting to be liked and accepted and in the limelight and out front, it's so not about that, not with this movement.
No.
This movement is literally, like you said, that soul purpose, that heart-centered, connected work that you do day in and day out. It is tireless. It is thankless at times, but we forge on because we know in our heart of hearts what's at stake. So I think that leaving your ego checked at the door is the best possible way for you to be able to be 6 feet tall and bulletproof, like not really allowing any of those things to come through. I've noticed that with myself. Like
Yeah.
I was always that perfectionist, had to leave the
Me
house,
too.
make
Mhm.
up perfect,
Yeah. Yeah.
couldn't let people see that side of me. And now this movement has brought me to a place where I am so grounded in who I am and what I'm up to in the world.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
me, hate me, whatever it is, I'm going to keep going. And
It's
that's
almost like we don't have time to worry who doesn't like us, because God has us doing a mission. It's
bigger mission. Yeah.
you have to kind of, I'm learning to really get stronger and block it out and say, look, I've got so many other things and people that need me, you know, including my family. And, you know, to me, you know, connecting with Children's Health Defense, I mean, my God, you know, it's like, it's really amazing. And, but it's more than that. It's that we all can do it. That's, and not to be so hard on yourself. I wasn't perfect. I mean, the first time I spoke, you know, I was like, oh, well, I didn't even plan it. And you learn every time. Like, what do you really want to say? You hone it in, you know, and you're scared because you're telling your real story.
Yes.
You know, this isn't about doing an acting role. It's about telling yourself. That's what this activism is about.
Every time I teach a yoga class, at some point during the yoga class, I have them lay one hand to their heart, one hand to their belly, and I say, you are perfectly imperfect, whole and complete, exactly as you are in this moment. There is nothing to fix or change.
Yes.
And I always tell my students that I say it to them, but really I'm talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder every single day that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, there is a reason. There is a divine intervention of why you're in the position that you're in. And life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. So thank you.
Hello. Yes.
For everything that you're doing and for being here after being in such a crazy, incredibly busy weekend, taking the time to come and to share your heart and your purpose with us. We really love having you, and we love that you're in this movement and that you're doing this work.
Thank you so much. I love you both. It's such a pleasure. Aimee, it's funny, you know, I first, you know, saw you on Instagram and I think, wait, you came to the protest for Bruce, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you know, that was my idea. And I told Kevin, you know, from New York Freedom Rally, I said, we got to protest Bruce. He's the first opening show. And and he just jumped. And then, you know, we got the, Visas for Vaccine people to make posters.
Came from California. Yeah, it was great. That was
great. That was like, I went, you know, we made that happen. And so
that was iconic New York, though. It was like right after they first started to say, show your paperwork. And New Yorkers were like, nope, we're not taking this laying down.
Right.
Huge crowd there that day and definitely made impact. Yeah.
I was like, well, the media will be there. They need to know that there's an opposition. Hello.
Growing every day.
Well, thank you so much, Heather. This was great to have you on and share your story. And you're so inspiring. And I hope that you inspire action from many others as well. And keep up the great work. You're doing awesome.
Thank you so much. Love you guys.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It really is amazing how you just fall in line and you make it work. So it's inspiring for everyone listening. It's inspiring for me to hear, because I hope people can take that same sense of purpose and resilience that she has, apply it to their own lives, because it doesn't have to look a certain way. So I love it.
Everyone just takes action every day and puts themselves out there, puts their heart out there, their passion. We will really we are winning, but it will make such a huge difference. Yeah. I love her passion.
So we're going to keep winning. We're going to keep bringing you the resources, the tools, and the inspiration that you need to keep on forging the battle ahead, because the only way that we win is with consistent daily action. Like Bobby Kennedy said, those 3 acts of civil disobedience every single day, and making sure that you have the information and you can spread the truth. So I'm going to share my screen so that you all can see the things that are available to you on Children's Health Defense right now for anything that you need to help support you on this journey. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Aimee.
So every show we close out with the same information at the back end, just so you know how to get in touch with us and how to get information. So first things first is sign up for the Defender. If You just go to childrenshealthdefense.org, right at the homepage, upper right-hand corner, free sign up. You just click that and you will get our newsletter and emails directly to your inbox every day. We are now up to 10 million page views every month. People want this information. They know they're not getting it from mainstream media. Phenomenal content. So please make sure you're signed up. Also on our homepage, if you click our Take Action button, is our advocacy portal. This is really important to check in whenever there are new bills moving or any organized unity and action steps that we need. We will put it right there. You'll take a few minutes to read about the action alert, what's happening, and just click, put your name, your email address, and form letters will be sent out directly from there. Also on our homepage, we have our Stop Mandates campaign. This is where you can find a plethora of information in terms of the science, the risks, the harms of the vaccine, how to fight back, how to push back on these mandates, whether they're coming from school, your employer, or college, and just a whole bunch of resources and links to give you all the information you need to try to push back and fight that. We have our show every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on CHD TV. And over the last few weeks, Polly Tommy has launched an enormous amount of new shows and programming. So every day we have a multitude of shows and even new ones coming. So be sure to tune in on CHD TV and check all this great new programming out. Our page, if you click on the upper left nav bar, go to Defender. And then if you scroll down to Community, this is where you'll find the community section. So this is where we're covering grassroots and news and events, what's happening state to state, any big bills that are coming up, any campaigns. If you have rallies or events that you are hosting in your state, please be sure to get in touch with us. We'll feature it on our calendar. We can write articles about it. If you have an article you want to get into us, any big news, it'll get featured here as well. So please reach out to Stephanie and I so that we can feature it here. You know, our role is to amplify your voice. Grassroots activists around the country. We need to know what's going on so we can, focus on it and put it here and get you guys more exposure.
And we have some really exciting things happening at Children's Health Defense. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s book, The Real Anthony Fauci, is launching in November. Pre-order your copy on Amazon today. You can click on this link and it'll take you directly to the pre-order site. We are challenging every single person that's watching right now, every single person that's listening to the replay, to not only order for yourself, but to think about giving the gifts of truth this holiday season and sharing this amazing resource and information with all the people on your holiday list to help inform and educate them as to the things that are happening behind this pandemic so that they can join us out in the streets and be part of the movement that is going to ensure freedom for ourselves and the future generations. And we can't do any of this without your help. So right now we have a Double Your Impact and Millions matching program happening until October 30th. Any donation that you make will be matched. So please go on, click right here to make your donation and know that that will be doubled by one of our generous donors. We have done really well with this program and we're looking forward to continue so that we can continue to help to protect and be a defender of children's health, freedom, and truth. So besides that, I'm going to just pop up that address so that for people who have events, we want to make sure that we know what's happening, like Aimee said. So if you have anything happening in your neck of the woods, please do reach out to us at advocacy@childrenshealthdefense.org. Send us the graphic, the who, what, when, where, and why, any organizers that are, putting on this event, so that we have all the information. We will add it to the community calendar, and we would love to also set you up with live streaming. So reach out to us so we can make sure that we're covering everything that's happening on the ground. We are so proud of all of you for the efforts that are happening all over this country. Continue to show up, stand up, rise up against mandates and the tyrannical things that are happening in this country, and to be those defenders of truth, freedom, and children's health. We will be back to you next week with more inspiration and education to keep you on track during this very challenging time. Know that you are not alone. So we'll see you at 1:30 p.m. next Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.